Hey guys, Kingpin here. Welcome to the next episode of Franchise Mode. In case you missed the last episode, we finally fixed up the entrance of the zoo. Calling this wonderful new habitat home is the pygmy hippo, the most endangered animal in the zoo so far. Giving a quick overview of the habitat before we start today's episode, it's effectively a large pool surrounded by two viewing areas. The south viewing area, which we're looking at right now, is where the zookeepers can get in and tend to the hippos if need be. The north viewing area, which we're panning to, has underwater viewing. Overall, it's a really simple exhibit, but it works as a first one for the zoo. Today's episode, we're actually going to be fixing up this area right outside of our fruit bat cavern with a grizzly bear enclosure. I thought of a somewhat interesting new video format too. A few episodes ago, we tried to do a speed build with greater flamingos, however there was no time constraint, so while getting ready for work today, I found myself with a little bit extra time, so I decided to use that 30 minutes that I found to test myself to see if I can make an exhibit that fast. There's going to be a timer on screen, so we're really racing against the clock today. Ready, set, go. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to have to do is get rid of the transformer and get rid of the water treatment, because it's kind of right in the middle of where the grizzly bears are going to go. For now, we'll just temporarily move them over next to our alligator enclosure. Secondly, we're going to get rid of this path. What I really want to build in this exhibit is kind of a little viewing point that's indoors and make it double-sided. The double-sided part's not really going to make sense in this episode, however, kind of in between the alligators and where we just moved the transformer, I'm planning on making a moose enclosure to kind of connect the wetlands and really round everything off in this North American pavilion. Other than that, I really just want to get this done and make it look really sturdy. Since grizzly bears are bulky animals, we can't just make this out of flimsy material. Realistically in the game this doesn't matter, but for a lore perspective, or maybe lore is not the best word, but from a realism perspective, we want our grizzly bears to have a sturdy enclosure. A lot of what we've been building with in this North American section, and really the entire zoo as a whole, is the wood, specifically the wood you can dye with colors, but that's not going to cut it for a grizzly bear. In real life, a grizzly bear would break through that like it's made of toothpicks, so we're going to have to use some heavy-duty materials. We're using it on the other side as well, because a moose is no slouch. Moose are shockingly large, a lot bigger than you may realize. Overall, with this little viewing dome area, I'm trying to keep it relatively small. This is about as big as I want to make it. Now we just need to figure out which glass panes to use. I don't really like the white ones. I think these look nice, they're not too tall. Maybe we can get some of the wood on the roof to trim down, cut it down a little bit. Building with these kind of circular patterns is a little bit trickier in the game than building completely straight. My other game that I play pretty frequently, more so I used to, not too much anymore, was actually Minecraft. If you didn't know, that's what we started the channel on. Shifted to Planet Zoo when it came out in March 26 of 24. I really like this game and I really like the direction the channel's going. No plans on going back to Minecraft. However, because I have so much experience in that game, far much more than Planet Zoo, matter of fact, I've played Minecraft since 2010 I think it came out, maybe 2011? Not sure, but the point is I have over a decade of experience in that game, so it's a lot easier for me to build things kind of in a blocky, square pattern. Building circular is still a little bit new to me. I'm trying my best though, because not everything in real life is squares. Overall, I think this is a nice shape for the build, but how are we going to get this stair to line up with the door here? This might be a little tough, because right now it's elevated past the roof. Maybe we can come in with a different material like this and trim out the roof. Put this down, duplicate it on the other side. Yeah, I think that works actually. Now we just need to find a material to cover this with, and maybe do a trim on the glass again. See how this looks. I don't want it to cover too much of the glass. If we can put it down, will it kind of intersect? Yeah, I don't really like that intersection, although it appears to go away if you go far out. I think that looks nice. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. We're gonna stick with it. Now I just need to find a material to cover the top with. It's not the most important detail, but I like for my builds to be coherent. There's no point in having a detail that you know you missed, but the viewers might not know. If I cut this out, you guys probably wouldn't be any of the wiser, but I know, and it would personally bother me, so we're gonna try to do everything 100%. No point in cutting yourself short in this game. Now we just need to find an effective trim, match it up, we used the vertical planks, we'll throw that right on the end. I actually really like that look. Now let's just get it on the other side. That's a bit annoying, but we'll have to live with it. We only have 26 minutes left. Still a decent amount of time. We built this whole thing up in not 40, would be 10 minutes over our time. We built the entire thing in about 4 minutes, which is pretty good. The next part of the build we're going to have to do is actually making the pit, which what I mean by the pit is we're going to be using the terrain push feature and getting this kind of down, probably maybe 20 feet, maybe a little bit more. I'm not really sure how that measures up because I'm using the imperial system in my head because that's what I'm used to, but this game uses the metric system mostly, and that's what I'm used to in this game. So we'll just get this thing down to about the point where it looks like a grizzly bear can't jump over it, and if it does, it can't jump out. Push this down a little further. Then we'll use the flatten to foundation tool to even it all out. This looks good enough. I can't really see a bear jumping over that. They're quite formidable creatures, but they're not the most athletic ever. They're more tanky and just big. They're not so much nimble, although they can actually run at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour, which is pretty alarmingly fast for a creature that sized. Sorry if my live commentary isn't the best. I'm not quite used to it. This is all still pretty new to me, but I'm having fun. We'll build this exhibit right together. Usually I do most of my talking in post. It's a little bit different live. You almost have to get into a different mood to do it. Different mindset. This should be big enough for the 2 grizzly bears that we have so far. We're actually bringing them over from the very first zoo we ever made on this channel. If you recall, probably 2 months ago we made an episode on grizzly bears and made an exhibit for them there. But since we don't really go to that zoo anymore, since that was just the zoo I kind of learned how to play the game in, we're gonna bring them over here. It's an adult female and a baby male, so they can't breed quite yet. We have to wait until the male grows up. For now, we'll just run null barriers across here. We'll actually link them through the mountain that's connected to our Timberwolf cave, and then link it back up to the other side. Area should be plenty for them, about 1,800 square meters. I think a bear needs only about 900 each, so this should be perfect. We'll get our bears, send them over here. Now what do we do until they arrive? We can probably start lining this thing with rocks, maybe? Maybe we'll do it with concrete instead. I kind of like concrete better. A lot of zoos seem to use concrete in real life instead of making everything look natural, especially for something as inconsequential as a pit like this. It just adds a little nice trim to the bottom and mixes up the color from all the greens and browns you'll see. I just thought in my head that maybe we can fill this pit with water, but I'm pretty sure that would defeat the purpose of keeping the grizzly bears out, because if you didn't know, they're actually shockingly good swimmers, and that would not be good for PR or marketing, because the grizzly bears escaping and mauling some guests would probably kill the zoo. Even more so than those unfortunate guests, but I digress. It looks like the grizzly bears need a lot less long grass, which is a given. Everything else is good though. They're gonna need some rock, maybe some sand. They actually like snow too. Once the Arctic pack hits, we can actually make a really cool winter-themed zoo. We'd have polar bears, Arctic foxes, reluctantly again. We'll make sure not to put them at the start of the zoo. We can do grizzly bears, the reindeer that come in that pack, 2 species of wolves at the time. We'd have a lot of different animals. I hadn't even considered that until now. We can even do something crazy like a snow leopard, which I've really struggled to find where I would put that in any sort of zoo right now. There's just not the animals to go with it yet, quite in the game so far, but I'm sure those animals will all come. Maybe we can put it in an Asia-themed zoo, which actually, the next zoo that we're starting off with, I'm heavily considering doing an Africa and Asia type theme, and I've actually designed an Asian exhibit that includes 4 animals already in my notebook, which I use to design my exhibits. It includes red pandas, the binturong, the gharial, and the Bengal tiger. We'll add that very soon, actually, probably in the very next zoo we make, just over a month from now. For now, we're just going to use a simple blueprint. We don't really have that much time to design our own thing, seeing as that we only have slightly less than 22 minutes left. Bears don't necessarily need to climb in this game, but I thought it'd be cool to give them something to do. We'll put it in clear view of the pit so the guests walking back can see the bears in a really good light. We'll add some enrichment items in key locations where the guests will have the best view of them, right outside the viewing center. This is going to be the stalactites or the stalagmites, forgive me, I forget which one is which, but it's basically going to be the pillar that holds up their little cave. It's a really simple build. Matter of fact, it was actually too tall. And then we'll just take the exact same rocks we'd been using, that are the exact same rocks that blend into this wall right here, and make a little roof. Now we have random rotation on, so we can get a more natural look. Have random rotation on when you want natural, have it off when you want uniform. It's really that simple. Now we'll take these exact same rocks that we'd been using for the base of it, and then kind of mash them together to make the cave extension. So far the outline is actually really good. Then we can just use rocks of a different shape and make little supporting walls, and then they have their entrance. We'll come back in with some plants later to make this more natural, and we'll have to put some bedding down. But it looks like the exhibit is completely safe. The bears can't get out, which is really good. I'm pretty happy with it so far, and we still have well over half of our time to add little plants, enrichment items, and other things for the bears to play with. This turned out really nice. Best case scenario on time. I'm surprised we've done all of this in just 12 minutes. The reason I always wait until last to place plants is because, for one, they take up the most amount of space if you use the right ones, and two, I like to build the plants around the structures that I've already placed. For example, right here, near the cave, we have a few dead trees, so we're going to add some drier grass. Try to tell a little story of your exhibit with the plants. It's a little bit confusing to try and tell a story with foliage, but it really does make all the difference if you can do it successfully. Right now, we're adding little ferns in the walls and windows of our cave to make it a little bit more warm for the bears. After that, we're going to add some trees that the bears potentially can scratch on all around. We don't want anything too thick though. That means the bears will have less area to run around. We don't want to have a giant pine tree, for example, that takes up half the exhibit. We have to remember that the two people that are important to make an exhibit for are obviously the animals first, but secondly the people, since they're the ones who pay the bills here and actually let us build bigger and more grand exhibits. So we have to give them a good view of the animals. Otherwise we could just add 100 pine trees and make the bears feel perfectly natural. What should we put over here in this rocky area? We'll come back. I like these flowers a lot, one of my favorites in the game. They're kind of monotone in color and stick really close to the ground. I'm also a big fan of these ferns, except not when they're floating. We'll align them to the surface temporarily. Usually I don't like using align to surface and I like to manually do it, but right now we're approaching the halfway limit on our time and we kind of have to go. I feel like something's missing in this area, but what? We can add some saltworts over here. Whoa, camera going crazy. Caribou moss is something I always struggle to use. It just looks bizarre to me. Personally, one of my least favorite plants. Buffalo grass, however, remains easily my favorite plant in the game to add. It basically can make short grass and other terrain requirements look like normal grass. It's really helpful just to add small little patches of it anywhere in the exhibit. I try not to do it around heavily traveled areas, however. This makes it look like the bears have trampled down the grass where there is no grass. It's another thing where I always try to tell a story in your build. If there's an area that the bears commonly walk across, don't make that grass or anything. Just simply make it soil to look like there's no plants there because the bears always trample them. I think that's a really easy effect and it sells a build magnificently. You can kind of see us doing it right around where the soccer ball and build is, how it's made of soil and there's no plants over there. For now, we're just going to add these a little bit shorter to the ground to make it look like the grass is growing back in areas that closely border it. I just had a thought. I was thinking of plants to put right here where this kind of tree is, right along those rocks. However, I'm thinking more so waterfall. That would be a really cool feature, since technically the bears don't have anywhere to drink natural water from. We had to make them a water spout and put it on their climbing frame. However, this is going to be a cool effect if we can sell it correctly. We don't want there to be a river in this place, since grizzly bears don't need to swim. They like to swim, but they don't necessarily have to have it, and that's just going to take up a lot of time. And wow, we actually got it right on the very first try. I think that looks wow, that looks really good, especially from in here. Okay, so far the exhibit's killing it. Now we just need to find the education board. Of course, the time it takes me the longest to find it is when I'm under a time crunch. Align to surface. I said align to surface, not be at a 45-degree angle. Can we align it to this? Oh, we'll just use the one of its legs. It's not a problem, if the camera can agree. Come on. We only have half our time left. Now we just need to turn it on after trying for 3 times. I actually really like the view in here. Obviously, we don't have much time to detail it up. We'll have to do all of that off-screen, since we're coming pretty close to our time. We have slightly over half left. Add a habitat webcam out there and fix up these rocks. Maybe we can put them on this side? No, I don't like how that juts into the path too much. I actually don't like that at all. It doesn't look much better from this side either, sadly. What do we do about that? That's kind of an important detail we have to get down now. Maybe we just use concrete again? See how this looks? We can mash these in since they're not part of the same group anymore. I think that looks good. Now let's just wager that over here. Yeah, this should be nice, actually. I kind of have a vision in my head right now. We can use those cladding rocks right here to kind of get rid of this secondary pit that we're making of the concrete. I think that'll work. Now let's just go get those rocks, align them to the surface. Don't necessarily need to have random rotation on, although it wouldn't hurt. And then we'll try to wedge them in between the pillar and the path. That way it's making us like a layering system, if that makes sense. I actually really like how that looks. Just have to make sure none of it's bleeding over to the path. That wouldn't be good at all. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, actually. I didn't really think I would be. Now we can just use some different color rocks just to break up the monotony of the light gray, just to cover up the remaining layers of dirt. Also have to make sure the bears can't escape, because it looks like they'd be able to escape right here. We'll put this rock a little bit taller because of that. Over in this corner, kind of blend it in. I actually really do like this. It looks quite good. Somehow we finished on time, and not only on time, we finished with over 11 minutes to spare. I didn't touch the outside. Xbox notification, go away. Spoiler alert, I just took the thumbnail picture, so that came up. But I finished the completely inside of the exhibit really early on. Didn't really have time to detail the outside, although that was never the intention. I don't know if I said that in the intro. The challenge portion of the video was only limited to the inside of the exhibit. The outside of the exhibit is probably more important to detail up, but I am really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks nice, and you wouldn't even know that I tried it in a challenge video. Same level of quality as my other builds, which take me hours. That's another big reason why I wanted to do this. Looks like the sun is setting on this wonderful day in the H2O zone. Catch you next time. If you guys like this challenge type of video, let me know in the comments below. I'd be eager to try it again now that I know it actually worked. I gave myself a little bit too much time, matter of fact. Next time we'll have to shorten it. I'm really happy with how it turned out though, and I hope you guys are too. Hopefully this is more engaging than the last speed build we made. If you guys liked it, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Kingpin out. See you then.